Welcome to Morning Call, a podcast where we share our experiences around letting go of grief and learn to move with grace through mourning. We are your hosts, Alyce Christina
and Crystal Lee, two friends who connected through yoga and movement and ultimately found a deeper connection over our own parental losses.
We share how our experiences have informed us to live our lives more authentically, boldly, and in the now so that you can do the same. We believe where there is pain, there is transformation.
From the loss of a loved one to change in a career, a heartbreak, identity shift, and many other forms of loss, we walk this path together.
To discover the light within the darkness, we recognize the joy within pain and invite you to dive in with us as we share in the hope, laughter, and lightness of the mourning journey.
Join us for stories, interviews, and conversations that connect us as we explore the universal experience of loss that invokes the becoming of one's true self.
Welcome back to Morning Call. My name is Alyce.
And I'm Crystal.
And we're so excited to have the fabulous Allie Hunt as our guest today with us. Allie Hunt is a digital storyteller, a fat activist, and co-host of the Fab Fatties podcast, a body positive show that drives into fat phobia, fashion, mental health, and the everyday joy and complexity of living in a fat body. Based in Charlotte, North Carolina, Allie uses her voice and platforms, including her personal brand at Lights Camera Allie, to center visibility, vulnerability, and radical self-acceptance. Through honest conversation and creative collaborations, she has built an engaged community where plus-size folks feel seen, celebrated, and safe. Allie, we are so excited to have you here today. And I feel like it's kind of been a long time coming for us since we first connected at a little pop-up shop that you were working at. It was the Charlotte Collective. And I was invited to come sell some flower bouquets. And we instantly just started chatting it up just about clothes and things in the store. And then it quickly went real deep when we started sharing about our podcast and my experience of loss around my mom, and then your experience of loss around your dad. So Crystal and I are both so excited to have you and hear your story and share your insight around not only loss around, the physical aspect of grief. I think we're going to dive into what it's like to grieve a person that's still living and grieve parts of ourselves when we sometimes go missing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome. I'll hand it over to you. And if you want to share a little bit about your story and your background.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you both for having me. I absolutely loved meeting you. I think it was back in, I guess it was February. Yeah. Meeting you back in February and, just I think I instantly connected with you because I'm in this point in my life where I'm like I'm not interested in small talk. I don't, and I have a fat positive podcast, so like I don't want to talk about your diet. I don't want to talk about like I don't want to talk about how you tortured yourself at the gym. Like no, I want to know your childhood trauma. Like tell me the real shit. That was what I really liked about you, that you were just ready to dive in with a stranger, and I love that. Because that's what I'm trying to get everybody to do. But
Amen. Us too.
yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah. And that really all started when my dad died. So that was back in 2022. And it's gotten easier for me to tell this story. But there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of regret. And a lot of things that I desperately wish I could change that I can't, obviously. But it's gotten easier to tell this story, and harder at the same time because it just keeps getting more complex. But the long story short leading up to my dad's death is that my dad and I hadn't spoken or seen each other since 2018, when he died in 2022. And I try to be very careful about the language that I use here. That um, I wasn't forced to not talk to my dad. I wasn't, it was my decision, but Um, I made a decision in the hopes that other people would like me for it. And I used to make a lot of decisions in the hopes that other people would like me for it. Um, and unfortunately, back in 2018, my honestly, my parents should have gotten divorced a long time ago, but they finally decided to get divorced in 2018. The divorce was very tumultuous. That's the word for it. Very tumultuous, and it very quickly became a game of sides. Um, and I have two sisters, two older sisters. I'm the baby, and I spent I spent most of my life trying to be accepted by my sisters, trying to be accepted by my mom and my sisters. They're very much a little wolf pack. And I was scapegoated most of my life. So I really did, I had a strong relationship with my dad. But I so desperately wanted to fit in with them. So if they were ever to find this podcast, they'd be like, oh, well, she decided to do it. Yeah, I did make that choice, and it wasn't worth it. Um, I feel like I had given up so much of myself, throughout my life to be accepted by them, to be accepted by my family unit, right? Like that's for fucking survival. Um, and my dad was the last thing I could give them. That was like the last piece I could give up, because like they didn't like my dad. They had a different relationship with my dad. I had a different relationship with my mom. They're best friends with my mom. I was best friends with my dad. Um, my dad was the last thing I could give up to assimilate, I guess. And yeah, so I made that choice, and it wasn't worth it. So I stopped talking to him. I didn't invite him to my wedding. I broke his heart, and he broke mine too. My dad wasn't perfect. My dad was not the best dad in the whole world. He was a really good friend. Um, he he had a lot of anger inside him, a lot of anger, and I did too, and I still do. I just know how to handle it better now. But he had a lot of anger inside him that he never really sought out any help for. Um, I was 2 months before my dad died. I was actually diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and girl, we could do a whole other podcast on that. But
Second episode.
yeah, but that, I mean, it does have a lot to do with anger, and being able, not just anger, but all of your emotions, being able to my therapist likes to say that borderline personality disorder shouldn't be called that. It should just be called like emotional dysregulation disorder, because that's what it really is. You have a harder time regulating your emotions than other people do. And it's usually paired with someone who was born as a highly sensitive person, because BPD isn't genetic, but being highly sensitive is. It's like HSPs, if you've ever heard of that. Um, Being highly sensitive. So like, that used to be weaponized against me. Oh, you're too this, you're too sensitive, you're too this, you're too this, you're too much. I was always too much. I was just too much, right? And it broke my brain, being told my whole life that I was too much, and I shouldn't be crying about this, I shouldn't be angry about this, I shouldn't be sad about this, and um, having my emotions policed my entire life apparently led me to have BPD. So that was fun. But anyway,
That's a type of trauma. I mean, having your emotions policed your entire life is a type of trauma, right? So like,
it is.
makes sense.
It is very much.
And the grief and like losing sense of like you feel this way inside, and everything from the outside is telling you that it's not valid, right? That like in the place you're born into, you don't belong, right? And that's a lot to process as a child. I mean, like you almost can't process it if nobody's facilitating that for you, right? And yeah, you wind up you get older and you make choices, And then, at some point, and I feel like you're, on this other side of it, like you made a choice to recognize that that's not how you want it to live
Yeah,
anymore. Yeah, and that's something to be mourned, right? Like,
absolutely.
right, like, almost like a childhood that you didn't have, not being the child you could be, like living in that potential.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. That it truly, I don't want to villainize my mom, but having borderline personality disorder is like, I say this and like I don't want to disparage anybody else who has it, but this is just how I feel about it. Like my brain is broken. My brain was broken by the people who were meant to not break me. Um and my brain was broken by, like you said, Alyce, 30 years of invalidating every emotion, every feeling, everything I ever had, 30 years of um dealing with an emotionally immature narcissistic parent who, as soon as I heard the garage door opening at the end of the day, like I had to guard myself. Like, okay, who do I need to be in order for her to be happy today? Right. So like I had all of these different masks, and it did take my dad dying for me to then kill my masks, because I spent my whole life creating all these different characters that were more likable to my mom and my sisters, to society as a whole, because it's not just, my mom and my sisters, but it's, I grew up in a fat body, and as a little kid, as a teenager, like I was in a bigger body, and I have had to have tough skin for a long time. And then I realized, like, no, I don't. I don't have to have tough skin. I'm allowed to say the things that hurt. I'm allowed to say the things that make me angry, that make me sad. And that doesn't mean I take up too much space. That doesn't mean that I am bad. Because that was the overarching theme, right? Was that I was bad. And as a kid, you can't possibly fathom that like your parent might be bad. So you're bad. Like you just, no, that's my mom. That's my mom. So I must be bad. And it's not like I did something bad. I'm bad. So I grew up just thinking I was this horrible person, horrible person. Um, and so when my dad died, it was really hard because I had finally gotten to a point where I was starting to feel strong enough to not only like maybe open the door back to him, because we had a lot to resolve too, but to open the door for myself to maybe step out of line again, right? And not fall in with what my mom and my sisters wanted, and how, because it was very much with them how things look and not how they feel. So it's just, as long as, it had to be this united front. And I finally felt like strong enough to just kind of walk my own path, or at least start. And I had made a plan that, so I have blocked my dad from calling me, but every year, I don't know if you have an iPhone or not, but the way that iPhones, like when you block somebody, they can still leave you a voicemail, like if they call you, and it goes to a folder called blocked messages, or blocked voicemails, whatever. So I still have 3 years of birthday voicemails from my dad, and because it was 2018 to 2022. So the fourth year was 2022. I had planned that on November 19th, on my birthday, I was going to unblock him and just see if he called again, just see if he tried one more time and see where it went from there. Um, but he died on October 30th of 2022. So I didn't get that. And he was in the hospital. He went to the hospital on October 26th, and I went there. But by the time that I got there, he was there, but he wasn't there. And I know everybody told me, I don't mean to roll my eyes at this, but everybody tells me like, oh, he knew you were there. He heard you. All the things, like, that's great. I appreciate you saying that to me, and I can't feel it. Like I can't feel he knew that I was there, that I told him I was sorry and that I loved him and I said goodbye. And I felt like that was for me. I don't know. I'll never know, you know? Um, and there's so much I want to change about all that. And I can't, and I can't. But the best thing that happened about my dad dying was that I died. The old version of me that was so terrified of being myself and being who I wanted to be and not who my mom wanted me to be, my sisters wanted me to be, my whoever wanted me to be. I just stopped being that girl.
Did your dad, I know you said, like, of course, nobody's perfect, but like, do you feel like the reason your relationship was different with him did he allow you more to be like yourself when you were younger and like not expecting that assimilation? Or does that make sense what I'm asking?
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my dad never asked me to shrink. Um, yes, there were blow ups and there were fights, and like I said, my dad mismanaged his anger. Um, there were times that I was scared of my dad, all those things, but my dad never asked me to shrink. My dad never said, you're crying too much. You're too sad. You're too angry. You're too this, because he felt it too. He had those big emotions too. Um, he never asked me to take up less space. And I think that was such a profound loss for me, because it was like the one person I felt was okay with who I was, just as me. Just as me. Because even at that point, like, this was 2022. I was married. And my ex-husband is a really great guy. He just wasn't my guy. But he also didn't um, allow me to take up as much space as I require. And I require a lot of fucking space. And that took me a while to realize too. And that came from, learning to love myself again, or for the first time, and realizing things that, like, from the first time I met his parents, I was like, well, don't do this, don't curse, you can't curse. And that's like, that's part of my entire vocabulary. Like, I wouldn't be who I am without being able to use the word fuck. So it's like, just don't be who you are around my parents. Like, I didn't realize until later on, like, that's what, like, don't be yourself. Like, then why do you love me? Why do you, whatever. That's a story for another day. But, yeah, my dad gave me the space to take up space, and wasn't afraid of my emotions. And so losing him then just kind of, it honestly knocked me on my ass. It knocked me on my ass.
Well, it's like the one person that you really feel seen by is gone. I mean, that's devastating. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And to lose him in a way that, like, I'm such a hold on, I'm gonna fidget for a second. I'm such a like I'm such a drama girly. I'm such a drama girly. I love I wanted I said this, I think, a few years ago when he died, but I didn't get my movie ending, right? I raced to the hospital and he opened his eyes and I got to say I was sorry and I loved him, and he got to say it in return. Like, I wanted my movie ending and I didn't get that. And that, I think that was the first time in my life that, like, I can't make this okay. Everything else I can make okay. I can work my ass off, or I can prove myself, or I can do this, or I can make this okay. I can't make this okay. I can't bring him back. Right. And so the finality of death in that way, it it truly changed me. It truly changed me, because it's like, I can't keep going through life being terrified of what other people are going to think or what other people are going to feel based on how I feel. Because what if this happens again? What if I lose someone else that I didn't get to say everything I needed to say to, and I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. That's the reality of life.
And we can make our movie every day, right? Like make that right? Like we can step into that like main character energy of our own lives. So we don't go to bed being like, oh, I should have told someone I love them, or that was a really pretty outfit they had on. Like, I mean, from the big to the little things, right? Like we can create that for ourselves. And I think that, um, I had that same experience. Like you said, there, like a part of me died when my mom died, right? Like I will never be that version of myself again, um, when my mom was alive, and that is, it's a huge thing to step into. And it also, I mean, at least I've experienced, like, it just makes my life way more fun, right? And coming to that understanding that, like, also, I know for me, I know I can love everybody. I don't have to like you, but I can give you love, right? And like you don't have to like me. And there can still be this a channel of love and appreciation for being human, right? And because we don't know what other people are going through, right? And that's okay. Like I don't need everyone to like me.
Yeah. We often talk about that like veil being removed after like a loss like this because your story resonates so much with me because I lost my dad suddenly and I was out of the country. I couldn't be anywhere near him. And like there was no goodbye at all. There was nothing. But to your point, it was like when that rug is pulled out from under you and like everything that you thought you knew is like gone. You're just like, well, I'm a different person. Like this, my reality is completely different. It sounds terrifying. And at first it kind of is. But then it's so expansive. Like it opens you to this whole new world and new self that actually is really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. 1,000%. 1,000%. I wouldn't recognize who I used to be. Um, because I've always had this big outgoing personality, but I was so terrified. I was so terrified of being exactly who I am. Right. And I didn't even know who the fuck that was. Right. Because I had spent my entire life trying to shapeshift into likable versions of myself that somebody else would like. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I like, yeah, everything there's so much that resonates. Like I'm like, even my parents were shocked. Like when I think like the first big shift that I made was after I had my daughter and separated from her father. And even my parents were like, who are you? Right? Like, and I was like, because I've spent most of my life trying to fit in and be someone for all of you. Right. And it's like, and that even it's so funny, my partner now is like, I tell him these stories and I'm like, you wouldn't have liked me then. Like, you wouldn't have been attracted to me because I wasn't as big as I am now, right? And it's not that people didn't support me in being that. I just had like such a skewed perception of what I thought I should be doing.
Well, and I think too, literally saying that, like, you wouldn't be attracted to me. I wasn't attracted to me. I literally wrote this thing for our Patreon the other day, like a diary entry saying something along the lines of like, I spent my whole life trying to make other people like me. And I never stopped to ask myself, one, do I like them? And two, do I like me? And when I actually stopped, like once my dad died, I actually stopped and I took a look and I was like, no, I don't like them. And you don't have to like your family. Sorry, but like I don't like them and I don't like me. So instead of working on more versions of myself that might be likable to other people, I'm going to, for the first time in my life, work on liking me and figure out who the fuck that is, because the thing is like, yes, I agree. I can give love to anybody. I don't owe anybody that. I don't owe anybody love. I owe kindness. I think we all owe kindness to each other. And that is the thing, is like that I look back and I know that my mom and my sister still tell a very different story about me. I'm not in contact with them anymore, but I know that they still tell a very different story about me, and that's fine. I used to be so, so terrified of being the villain in people's stories. And now I'm like, oh, I love it. fucking call me Ursula. I will absolutely be your villain, please, because I'm sleeping better at night knowing that I'm my fucking hero. You know, like I'll be whoever you want me to be in your story because you're a fucking clown in mine. Like, you know, I I I look back and like I was always kind. I was always kind, but I was taught that I was bad. I was too much. I was too much and I was too bad and I was too this and I was too that. And it literally broke me. And then to one day realize like, no, people, I don't just think I'm kind. People think I'm kind. I'm the kind of person that does walk down the street and say, "Oh my God, girl, you look hot as hell." I don't compliment men, but like, I'm just like, "Oh my God, look at that outfit. Oh my God, your smile is incredible." Because like, honestly, it's honestly selfish too because it lights me up. It lights me up to compliment other people and see how it lights them up. But like, I don't do that. Like, I don't have a fucking video camera out showing people that I do that. Like, these are the true things that light me up is making other people feel incredible about themselves, letting people know that they're not alone, right? Because I felt so alone my whole life. And it wasn't until my dad died that was like, okay, I'm going to take off all of these masks. And it's not so much like me seeing like who I am without my mask. It's me seeing who you are without my masks, right? When I'm not who you needed me to be, and I'm just who I like, it doesn't seem to be going well for you. That's when the divide started to get much, much bigger between my mom and sisters and me.
How have you, and feel free if this is like too much to we can like edit this out, but like how have you, at least because for me, your story resonates so much with me. Have you had any like grief around like maybe the years you feel like you quote potentially lost, like assimilating, being someone else, and now you're like really fully embracing yourself? Like there's grief around that, I think. Have you felt that? How have you like, are you still processing that? I feel like that's probably going to be like, at least for me, it's like a lifelong journey, right? Like, what has that experience been like?
It's been hard. It's been really hard. Because I say like I spent my whole life doing this, but like I really spent my whole life I spent my whole life trying to fit into other people's boxes, whether that was my family's boxes, whether that was society's boxes, whether I was trying to take up less space emotionally or take up less space physically because society said I needed to be smaller. My family said I needed to be smaller, um, you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, all the things. Like it seemed like from every direction, I was being told take up less space. And so, yeah, that was decades of me trying to fit into other people's boxes instead of ever being brave enough to be like, fuck your boxes. I'm going to build my own, or actually, I don't want to be in a box, like I want to be in all the boxes. I want to be in every different box. I want to be somebody who, no matter what walk of life you come from, I can be a safe space for you. That, listen, I don't know if I feel like I'm in like-minded company, but like that doesn't apply to like the red hats, but like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Right.
like I can't hold space for you. Not if you're still okay with what's happening.
No, yeah, and I mean, think that it's like that's the practice though of like creating the boundaries, right? Like, and I think that I mean that resonates with me of like, I do consider myself a safe space, and I have the capacity to hold space for people through various challenges and trials in life, and I also like have had to be like, no, I can't expel this energy because when I hold space for someone that is willing and open to allow me to do that, it's it's fulfilling, right? Like I leave there like I might be feel tired, but I'm like my heart is full, right? Like, and there have been moments where I've left there and I'm like, you just sucked the living fucking life out of me. And that is not something that I want to, and it's like recognizing our own boundaries, right? Like, and that's a thing to have to learn to navigate. because I would be a yes for everyone and get walked all over and then be left feeling like I got hit by a moving train 1,000 times and be like, well, now what do I do?
Well, and not to toxic positivity the hell out of grief and death and loss, but like that is one of the positives is like it slaps you right into like boundary mode because
Like a new reality.
yeah, because you're just trying to survive. So it's like I don't have time to like deal with whatever dumb crap. Like the boundaries are quick and fast and furious. So it's a lesson in like boundary building at a minimum. So that is like the silver lining, if you will.
I completely agree. It's very much, I mean, like you said, Alyce, like I'm just no longer available for spaces where I'm willing to give space and no space is given for me. Like it's not so much like a give and take sort of thing, but like if I am laying myself bare and being vulnerable and welcoming you into a safe space and you leave no space for me to feel safe, that's not a, that's that's not the space for me. And so it yeah, absolutely, Crystal. It literally forced me to evaluate, and it didn't happen overnight. I was laid out for like 6 months after my dad died. I quit my job. I quit my marriage. I quit everything. I quit living. I quit getting off the couch. Like, this is honestly, this used to be really embarrassing to say, but I'm just going to say it now. Like, there was a point where I genuinely, I ordered Depends underwear. Depends, because I get really bad UTIs, and like if I don't use the bathroom enough, I will get like severe infections. Like, this has been like a lifelong thing for me. And like I literally was not getting up off the couch enough to go pee. And I was like, well, I'll just get Depends so I don't have to get off the couch. Like, that's how low I had sunk. And I'm not saying, like, I'm not disparaging anybody who uses those for any reason, right? But like that's how low I had sunk. Is like I would rather just lay here in my own filth than get up off this couch and have to do anything because everything felt way too fucking heavy. But then it was one step at a time, one boundary at a time, and learning that, like, my value, and I, at least I feel like you kind of just talked about this, but like my value is not in what value I bring to you. My value is not in what I can do for you, in how many times I've said yes to you, in how many times I've jumped when you said, or you've said jump and I've said how high. Like, my value is not in how I serve you. And that,
It's in how we serve ourselves.
exactly. And the thing is like I was raised to believe that I had to perform. I had to perform X, Y, and Z to equal value, to equal worthy. And it wasn't until I started doing this work of like, no, I was born, so I'm worthy. I have air in my lungs, so I'm worthy. I am worthy of love. I am worthy of happiness, sadness, anger, good things, bad things. I'm worthy of all those things because I'm a human being. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, the size of your body, the way that your hair looks in the morning. Like, it doesn't matter. You have air in your lungs. You are worthy. And that was where that divide in my family really started to shift, was in starting to find the courage to say no.
Well, and because once you stop serving people for like, like once you stop focusing on them and you focus on yourself and you're actually like, I'm not doing this anymore. And you stop the like exterior focus, they don't like that. People don't like that. They're like, oh no, like what? It like shocks them. And you're like, sorry. And they don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's like shocking from the outside, right? Like I remember, I mean, through divorce and even after my mom died, right? Like these big life-changing moments where I had to tell my parents, like, I'm going to do this because it's the right thing for me to do. And they're like, you can't do that. You're a single mom. You're, I was like, I'm not abandoning my child. Like, she's with her father right now. She's where she belongs. Like, and I need to do this for me. I have to, like, it's like I said, a new reality. Like I was in the process and still am very much in the process of like discovering my truths, right? And making sure that the choices that I make in my life align to those truths. And recognizing when they don't and being like, okay, who's penetrating that? What's penetrating that? Right? Where is this shift necessary in my field um to come back to my, core about, call it your core value, call it your core, call it your source, call it your truth, like whatever you want to call it, right? Like, because that's when I can like stand up and take up all the space, like, and I don't apologize for taking up space.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I mean, the thing is, like, if you look around, like the people that you were so afraid of, like afraid of their judgment, afraid of what they would say, afraid of this, like they take up space. Why can't you? Right. And I think that was like, that was a huge learning curve for me too, is like, wait, I'm not here to be somebody's trophy, to be somebody's, oh, I'm so proud of my daughter because of this. And oh, look at what my wife did. And look at, like, I'm not anybody's trophy. I need to know that when I go into that blessed sleep, like I am my own trophy. I made myself proud. And that was the pivotal shift for me, was like, I've got to stop performing for everybody else and figure out what the fuck I want, figure out who I want to be. And it is hard. It's hard too, because it's, once you start figuring out who you are and start liking yourself, and then finding out that the people that you wanted to like you so bad, they don't like that version of you, it very easily, you could slip back and be like, all right, well, I'll take up less space. I'll dim my light so you can shine a little bit more. Or honestly, your opinion doesn't matter to me anymore. Like it doesn't matter anymore. I wasted too much time trying to get you to like me. I need to like me.
Yeah. Well, I think there's those experiences too, especially with other people. Like those are forms of grief. Like when you realize that you have to let go of people that you've tried so hard to like and have a relationship with, like, and be feel close to, right? And like, you know, and I think that's why there's all these waves of grief. Like sometimes we're up here and we're like, yeah, I got this. And then other times, it's like you write it down and you're like, oh shit, it's like it's the cultural cracks that seep back in, right? Like that we're supposed to, you know, be with our family or, you know, like that external validation that, or, I love my daughter and I am very proud of the way that I have mothered her and that like I don't guarantee her that I'm always going to be there because I can't. I don't know what tomorrow holds. I don't know what this afternoon holds, and I learned that lesson when I lost my mom. However, I grew up when I lost my mom, it was like I thought my mom would always be there. We never had the conversation that my mom would not be there, And so that was just like, ugh. And then also it's like, and I'll tell her, I'm like, she gets upset when Amelia does, because she's a party girl, right? She likes to be the center of everything. And I don't fault her for that. She comes by it very naturally. Because that's where like that's me. And so she's 12 and almost 13 and she's like, "Ah, you don't get to go have fun without me." I'm like, damn right I do. I'm like, yes, yes, because this fills me up in a way in which that I get to fill you up. Because when my cup is full, your cup is full. And if I start to get depleted, and I can't give you all of me, right? That's when I lose my patience. That's when, and I was not mom first. I was me first, and so it's like having, these conversations that, I never had that conversation with my mom. It was always like, oh, mother stayed home from work, and yes, mom and dad had a loving relationship, and they went through hard times, and it was just so different, right? It was not, they weren't like, no, you don't have to marry the first boy that said he loved you, right? Like, I was like, oh, there were some people that said that, and we won't go there. That's just
That's another podcast episode.
that's another episode.
Well, I was gonna say it is so countercultural what you're saying, Alyce, is like, or what both of you are saying, is to live this way with like, people be like, it's selfish to like focus on yourself first. And it's like, no, that's the message we've received from society and culture, that like we have to be focused on whether it's family, friends, our job, I mean, whatever, that we have to be so externally focused, and to actually say, no, like I'm focusing on like, yes, those things come down the line. Like it's not like they don't exist, but like I'm myself is first.
You have to be at the top of your pyramid.
Yes, exactly. And people just don't like that, because I know you grew up in a family where that was also like reiterated, like serve us, but also like society as a large is also like very externally focused and not, self-validating.
1,000%. 1,000%. Because I mean, literally you could open Instagram right now and it's like, oh, somebody is a childless cat lady. Me. Like some, like whatever, like, and it's constantly about like what do you bring to this world if you're not a mother, if you're not a successful businesswoman, if you're not a good daughter, if you're not this, if you're not serving somebody else, what is your value? I'm fucking here, you're welcome. That's my value. And like,
Yeah, like I
I
exist.
exist, you're welcome. And it literally is, and it does, unfortunately, like, I do think it comes a lot from our mothers. I'm not blaming everybody's mothers, but like that notion too of like, well, like I gave up so much for you. I did so much. I did this. I did this. I brought you into this world. Like, okay, but I didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask you to give up this. I didn't ask you to give up that. And now that I'm older too, like I would have begged you not to. I would have begged you not to, because I would have had a mom like Alyce. I would have had a mom like Alyce who said, you know what? You go have fun. Mama needs to have fun too. I need to have a life too. I need to pour from a full cup and not constantly be resenting you for the sacrifices you didn't ask me to make, because I constantly felt like I was trying to pay off a tab that I was never going to ever clear. And I finally was just like, I thank you. I didn't ask to be here, and honestly, there's been a couple times where I tried not to be, because that was just too much fucking weight. It was too much weight to put on me. It's too much weight to put on kids. It's too much weight to put on anybody to say, you're here to serve me. Nope. I'm here because I have air in my lungs. There's not a damn thing you can do about that. So you can try and make me shrink. You can try and make me feel like shit about who I am. But at the end of the day, like, I, I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to be me. And I have to be okay with that. And so why wouldn't I spend the time to figure out what it is I like about me and being that person? Because at the end of the day, like, none of us are getting out of here alive. And, like, why waste a single moment being unhappy with who you are when you literally could decide anything? You can be anything you want to be. I'm not saying that in a Gail King way of like, have you ever been to space? No. No, girl, we can't afford eggs, okay? Like, but like, you can be you can be a funny person, you can be a loud person, you can be an angry person, you can be whoever the fuck you want to be, and have that fucking conviction, and just know that like, I'm literally, I don't know, I'm 36 years old, and I still have to tell myself like, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble because you spoke too loud. You're not in trouble because you're angry. You're like, I have to literally, like, my therapist like has me, I literally sometimes have to just like sit in my bed and rock myself and be like, you're safe. You're safe. You're safe. Nobody's coming in angry through the door. There's no angry woman in your house anymore who is going to give you the silent treatment because she had a bad day at work. Like, you're safe, and you don't have to let that in anymore. And you can be who you needed.
Yes.
I feel like I went on a
Yeah.
completely different, like, random tangent.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm like,
The full circle of this, I think, is is the gift of grief, right? Like, and I can only say that now because it's like it's been part of the journey. Then, like Crystal said, it hits you so hard, and it wakes you up in a way in which of like, how am I living my life? Right? Like, who am I being in the world? Right? And is that the person, am I doing the things that at night I'm going to be proud of? Right? Like, and there's just so much, I mean, there's so much to unpack. Just as you've talked, I've like thought about how many times did I hear shame on you? And not as like, sometimes it was a shame on you, and other times it was used as like a shame on you, like a Southern, like,
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know, like just expression.
Because shame is weaponized. Shame, and that was a big weapon.
Yeah, and there's and that is something to like, recognize in ourselves, and to be able to put to rest, like be able to let that go. And you have the tools, whether it's like laying in bed and holding yourself. I mean, like I told you this morning, I'm like, I needed to go back to bed because I was tired. Not mama, me.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and
And
and I
shame
think
on the
that,
world for telling you, "Oh, you're a bad mom because you went back to bed," or "You're a bad mom because of this." But like, no. No, I wish my mom had gone back to bed quite a few times because then maybe she would
right.
have been nicer to me. Like, again,
Yeah.
I do think it's so I think it's just honestly it's outdated. It's so outdated and it's so set like in it is set in this fear of what things look like, of how things are supposed to look, right? Like for
Mhm.
example, my mom still has like wedding photos of um me and my husband in her house. And like I was living with her for a year. Um and she still has a photo of me and my husband on my wedding day. I'm like, "Mom, can you like replace that picture? Like, can you just take that photo down? Like, whatever. Like, I'm not trying to inconvenience you. Like, I'll swap the picture out, whatever." She's like, "It's a nice picture. I want to keep it." Like, okay, but do you do you care how it feels? Right? She still has this by her front door, she has like a family photo from like, I don't know, a few years ago. Um, where it's her and me and my sisters, all of our husbands, and all my nieces. And there's two of those husbands that are no longer husbands in the family. And that's still sitting up by her door. And I'm like, "Mom, why do you keep this up there? It's a nice picture." And, it's just, it looks nice. I'm like, no, because
Well,
when
it's saying something, like it's her picture perfect world of what was.
it's her picture perfect world. Yes.
And she wants to hold on to that because to the outside it looks great, right?
To everyone else, it looks great because for my mom, and I grieve this for my mom. I do not believe that my mom will ever see the light in changing her perspective of how do things feel versus how do they look. My mom will and always will prioritize how things look, and that's where I had to step away. I had to step away. I'm like, this is life is messy. Life is messy. Death is messy. Grief is messy. Joy is messy. Everything's fucking messy. And to sit here and constantly have to pretend like it's not is killing me. And I can't do it anymore.
Well, it's killing all of us. I mean, it literally does. It's like we, you know, sticking yourself in the box of perfection, right? And it's like, and it's not the, like, I believe we are all perfect exactly as we are, right? There is nothing to fix. Right now we can make choices to change things, right? Whether it's within us or around us, right? And even what around us is stretching it, because that usually requires other people to be willing to change something. And there is, but we are constantly in this and told to be to strive for excuse me, to strive for perfection. And sometimes I get so bogged down on myself because I like to say my house is very lived in, and I know there are some people that have even more children than I do. And I just choose not to stress myself out over having clean piles of laundry not put away, or, you know, dog stuffing because my dog and her best friend, another dog, went crazy with the stuffy, and all the stuffing is spread out all over my living room floor. Do I get around eventually to picking it up? Yes. Right. Do I stress out over having the dishes in my sink? Like, sometimes it bothers me, and that's when I know I have to, like, not think that anybody's reading my mind, but have the communication and say to Amelia or my partner, like, can you, like, I am going to be gone all day, can you please do the dishes? Like, just put them in the dishwasher, and um and that has taken a lot of like, oh, how should I show up on Instagram, right? Like, or even here, like, do I have the pretty background, or do I stuff myself in the corner, like, and not showing any of the mess in my room, or and that's exhausting, like, because I think that that pulls us further away from being able to just live.
100%. 100%. I mean, I grew up in a house like that. I grew up in like because like just hearing you say like my house is lived in, like I bet it's so fucking cozy because I grew up in a house where like literally I had to make sure when I got up from the couch that the pillow was put back in such a specific way, or that like if I accidentally like, something was like this and I accidentally hit it so it was like this, I have to put it back like this. Like walking on not eggshells, but walking on fucking landmines. Okay. Like literally, like I grew up in a house where again, it was so I was constantly aware that everything was just about how it looked and it didn't feel good. Right. And I just now yeah, do I bully myself for having a dirty room? My room is fucking disgusting right now. But do I bully myself for it? Sure. But it's more of just like, I know I'll feel better when my room is clean, but there's not an angry woman coming in here telling me that I'm a bad person because I have a dirty room anymore. You know?
Right. Well, it's like disassociating and uncoupling that, like, having a messy house means something about you, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I just have a messy house. I have a messy room. Like I just have a messy room, but like even if you didn't like that's the thing. That's the thing is like I don't know. Ever since my dad died, I've literally just been on this journey of like who am I and who am I not? And I know I am not my mother's daughter. I am not the woman who raised me because that woman looks at other people and goes, "Ew. th- You're a ridiculous person because you wore that outfit or you're not a serious person because you bought." One day I was riding in the car with my mom and right next to us pulled up this like bright orange Nissan Murano, and I remember this. Um, it was bright orange, and she was like, "That person's so stupid for getting an orange car." And I looked at her and I was like, because I used to be somebody who would say, "Yes, they're so stupid. Ew, what a fucking idiot for getting a whatever." I was that kind of person because I was her daughter, right? And I looked at her and I was like, "Great, she has a silver car." Okay, I looked at her and I was like, I would never buy a silver car, but I don't think that makes you stupid. And she was not happy about that. She was not happy about that. But I'm like, you don't like that because it's showing you that like you can't just be kind. You can't just be fucking kind. I looked at it and I was like, what if orange is that person's favorite color? And every day when they walk out to their car, they get the biggest fucking smile on their face because they have an orange car and it brings them joy. Why is somebody else's joy robbing you of yours?
Well, and that's the thing, like, again, it's that external validation, like, right? Because something inside is not, like, whether it's a generational trauma that's been passed down, whether it's an experience your mom had as a child too, like, you don't know, or maybe you do know, like what's fueled that. And in her own experience of grief, I don't, like, at least I believe that if we truly can embrace our losses, the lesson to be learned and utilized time and time again is the opportunity to let things go, right? That help it flower, like help yourself flower in a way in which, and it's like letting go of those judgments that, like, because it's like I hear people do that all the time, like these stabs at people out in the world, and it's like, and is that making you feel better? Because it's like, then it was like that negativity that you put out there, I feel like only fuels negativity back to you.
Exactly. Exactly. And I don't want to be around that anymore. I don't want to be around negativity. I don't like, I am not comfortable in rooms anymore where like the topic of conversation is always somebody else. Like, I don't like, if it's gossip, I want to hear crazy gossip, like I want to hear like,
I want to hear about the time you went to jail. Like,
right? Like I want to hear something absolutely wild, but like nothing that's like, ew, that girl didn't brush her teeth today. Like, she's doing her fucking best. She's doing her best. Leave her alone. Like it's just we're all doing our best in this absolute dumpster fire of a world, and the least we can do is be kind to each other. And so, literally, like I just remember having that like I don't know, that like light bulb moment of like looking at my mom and just being like, I don't want to be like you. I don't want to be so miserable and that I have to steal other people's joy to make myself feel better or to make other people like as joyless as me. And like this is all gonna sound really bad, like to her. I get like if she would ever listen to this, like I would I'm already her villain child. I'm the worst. So I'm fine with that. But like the thing is like I do know where my mom came from. I know who my mom's mom was, right? And I loved my grandma. She was great, but she was also mean. She was mean. And I know that was my mom's mom. And my mom is like, well, my parents never told me that they loved me. So you're lucky because I tell you I love you. I'm like, yeah, but I can't feel it. You might say it, I can't feel it. But the thing that my mom lacks is an ability to say, like, I know who her mom is. She has no ability to see, like, who my mom is, right? She has no ability to see like, oh, my daughter grew up in the same house that I grew up in. There's no accountability, no nothing. And so that really did have to like it led me to have to be like, I can't do this with you anymore. I have to let go because truly it was like saying no to my mom was like a capital offense. And putting boundaries up with my mom left me homeless, honestly. So uh, I literally just told her I didn't want to look at a dress for a party I wasn't invited to in a very cruel way. There was a cruel reason I wasn't invited to this party. And she had been asking me for months to help her pick out, help her this, help her that. And I just finally was like, Mom, this hurts and I don't want to. So no, thank you. I was very kind about it. I was very level headed about it. And she, I knew you would do this. I knew you would do this. You would make this all about you. You're going to ruin my weekend. Bitch, it's not your weekend. Sorry. Calm down. It was my niece's bat mitzvah. It was my niece's bat mitzvah. But I'm like, it's not your weekend, number one. But number two, you have two other daughters. You have two sisters. Call them and ask them about your dresses. Just because I'm living in your home does not mean that I owe you this. Because I also like, and I don't have to quantify this, but like I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was doing like I was being the most obedient daughter I could possibly be. But just having a small boundary of like, I don't want to look at your party dresses anymore for a party that I'm devastated I can't go to because this is my niece's big day. This is the biggest day of her life so far. And I don't get to be there because one of your daughters hates me. Like, okay. Like, actually, they both hate me, but it's this long, convoluted thing of just like, I remember I did finally ask them one time. I did finally ask them, and it was 2 years ago this month, actually, to just see me, to just see that I also have pain. I also have grief, and I'm also a complicated person, and I need you to see me. And I was told, well, your need for validation is suffocating. I wasn't asking you to validate my outfit. I wasn't asking you to validate. I'm asking you to, for once in your fucking life, see me. See me. I hold so much space for your trials, your tribulations, all of those things. But like when it comes to me, I'm just an angry kid. I'm just an angry sister. I'm just a dramatic. An emotional. I cry too much. I'm too sensitive. I'm too sensitive. And it was just like, I can't be in these conversations anymore. I can't be in these conversations anymore. So it literally went from like, I lost my dad in October 2022. Then in May 2023, that's when I stopped talking to my sisters, because it literally was just like, that was that. One of them said your need for validation was suffocating. The other one, who she's the one I truly believe she hates me, was she was mad at me again because I put myself on the internet in my underwear. And that said apparently so much about her that it was a problem for her. Um, and I was like, I can't do this with you guys anymore. I just can't. Um, and so like I lost my sisters, and then October of last year, 2024, I went no contact with my mom. Because I literally said no to a dress, to looking at a dress, and it was the next morning. And I wish that I was exaggerating, and like, that she like flew off and then I flew off. I did say, I do remember saying, I'm like, Mom, you're the reason I have BPD. This is why. This is why, because you gaslight me. You set me up for months to get frustrated by the fact that you keep asking me this very insensitive thing. And then when I finally calmly like try to set a boundary, I'm the problem. I'm the problem, right? So the very next morning, she texted me after she'd gone to work and said that I needed to be out of her house by the end of the day because her feelings are more important than mine. And I was like, you know what? You're right. They are. I'm going to go. And I didn't say anything. I didn't text her back. That was the last time I ever heard from her. I didn't text her back. I immediately blocked her. I packed up my shit with my friend Julie, and I left the key and the pool pass, and I was gone. And I slept on some friends' couches for about 2 months, and then finally moved into a place with a friend in December. And there is grief. There is grief there, because yeah, she is still alive. And I got my dream job, right? I got this dream marketing job that I'm absolutely obsessed with. I absolutely love it. But when I got that job offer, the first thing I thought was, oh, I'm going to call my mom. Wait, no, because like it was more so thinking like this would be the thing that she'd be proud of. She'd finally be proud of this. Like she'd finally have something to tell her friends.
And not just because she would be proud of it, you're proud of it, right? Like that's like, and that's a moment that you want to share with your mom, because regardless of all the things, she's still your mom.
Yeah. And I felt so many complex emotions around that. And like I had to literally coach myself through like, it's enough that I'm proud of it. It's enough that I'm proud of it, because I spent my whole life asking, begging my mom and my sisters to be proud of me, that I was their sister, that I was their daughter, that I was a part of their family, to show some sort of, we're glad you're here too. And I never got it. And so I finally had to be like, it's enough. It's enough that I like me. It's enough that I'm proud of me. I'm enough. And it sounds so cheesy, but like,
It's not. We all need to hear that. Like,
we do. We
we,
do.
yeah, especially in the process of grief, of like, because it's like 1 year, and especially we only, societally, we only perceive grief of when we lose someone, right? And it's mostly, and it's only honored if it's like an immediate family member, right? If I lose one of my people, like, I don't know. I do know how, and I will shut down, right? Like, and there's not like, we don't have a marriage license, or we don't have, no, we're not blood related. And that's going to be just as impactful when the time comes as, it'll be different than losing my mom. I can't say that it'll be comparable, and it'll be just as great.
Well, that's the thing. They don't have to compare. It doesn't have to compare. It's still, yeah, like you still get to feel everything. You're allowed to feel all those things. And I think that's something that like I try and shove down people's throats. Like you are allowed to feel everything that you're feeling. Everything that you're feeling is valid. And just because I might have opposite feelings or I feel something different, whatever, that doesn't mean you're wrong and that I'm right. It doesn't mean I'm wrong and you're right. Like we're all allowed to have feelings because that's literally how our brains work. Like your feelings are valid. You're allowed to take up as much space, whether it's your mom or your fucking goldfish. Like you're allowed to take up space and grieve and process these things. And I do think that that is like, there's not enough grief support as far as it comes to like, because you're right. Like it's almost like you're like whoever you've lost, they die so many deaths because it's like they die and you're grieving that. And then, and then there's the flurry, right, of family coming in for the funeral and it's all this stuff going on. And there's people showing up to your door with casseroles and this and flowers and cards and phone calls. And then the family goes home and then the cards stop showing up. The phone calls stop. There's no more casseroles. And it's like, okay, but my dad's still dead. My dad's still dead. I'm still grieving. I'm still not okay. But it seems that my window has closed for me to.
And it's like you're supposed to be okay at work, right? Like you're supposed to be okay at work. And like, 5 years later, I just did like flowers for Mother's Day's events all last week. And all I wanted one day was for someone to ask me about my mom. And I left there. People asked me if I was a mom, and I was just like, I just want someone to ask me about my mom. And I was so angry. And then that anger turned into sadness. And then that sadness turned into like me just bawling my eyes. I had to pull over the truck that I was driving because I was crying so hard. And it was just like, I was like, I'm not okay right now, and it's like you never know what you're going to need. You're, and I think that's the again, like that gift of grief that we keep coming, like I have learned to allow myself to feel what I feel in the moment. And and that's when I can like restore myself, right? Like, okay, let me I can keep driving now. I can, you know, and then it's like that evening I was like, I just don't want to do anything. I want to lay on the couch and I want my daughter to lay on top of me and I need a hug from my partner.
I want
And
to feel my feels. I want to
yeah,
be. Yeah.
and that comes in so many varieties and so many different ways, whether, like you said, whether we're grieving our goldfish or a person, alive or not alive, or a relationship, or even a past version of myself. I still find myself in moments like I I remember feeling so and I still feel so alive, right? And it's just like that different feeling of like, you know, when I made the choice to separate, right? When I was doing things for the first time and my life just looked different in that moment. And sometimes I grieve not having access to, and then I'm like, oh yeah, it's like, okay, I allow myself to go there for a moment. And then I'm like, oh yeah, but all that I get to celebrate that now because it's led me here. And then I get to see how I am now like living fully in my life and how I had these visions for myself then that I'm living in now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like, I feel similarly. Like, I literally, am I exactly where I want to be right now? No. But do I feel like I'm living out my wildest dreams? Yes. Because I am finally living a life I'm proud of, a life that feels good. I don't care what it looks like anymore. I was so afraid, like, even after moving in with my mom, after I quit, I was a very successful real estate agent. Like, I went from like a six-figure girly to a zero-figure girly. And like, it was I was so attached to how things looked that I was like, well, I can't just go out and get a job at a coffee shop. What will that look like? You know, like I can't go do DoorDash because what if I go to, you know, one of my old clients' houses? What will they think of me? Like, what will they think of me? Who gives a shit? Right. Like I finally am just at this point where like I'm proud of the life that I'm living, not because of the way it looks, but because of the way it feels.
Feels, yeah. You let go of that conditioning of, like,
Yes.
needing to for it to all externally be perfect.
Yes, yeah, and like you said, like and being able to feel it all, right? Even the bad stuff, even the sad stuff, all of it, like, I I tried so hard not to feel that it literally almost killed me, and I didn't start living until I started letting myself feel everything because I was so terrified of my feelings because I had been villainized for them my whole life, right? Like, "You shouldn't be sad about this." Okay, noted. Programming. Don't be sad about this. You're not allowed to cry about this. It is a flaw in your character if you cry about this. And then finally just being like, no, I spilled my coffee and I'm gonna fucking cry. And it feels good to cry. Like, you know?
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta get it out, right? Like, you just gotta get it out, and sometimes it looks like laughing hysterically at I can't remember what I was doing something, or maybe I had like just done stuff around the house all day. I might like done like a dance class in my living room. And then I like went out and I like caught a glimpse of my reflection. It was like just shadow, and my hair was just like it was like I had a top knot, but it was like crooked, and I had like frizzies going everywhere. And I just saw my shadow and I was like, like just laughed. And and it's like I used to not be able to laugh at myself, right? Like I would be more embarrassed of myself than I would have been like just to not take myself so seriously and be like, this is what you get today.
1,000%, 1,000%. I used to live in the very dark corners of embarrassment and shame. Shame was when we talked about this, but shame was a massive weapon in my household. Because it was like if you did something bad or you're bad, then I'm gonna make you stand in front of your sisters and tell them what you did. I'm gonna make you um call all of your friends and tell them why you're grounded and can't talk to them for 6 months. Yeah. Like so the shame was used to keep me in my place. And so now I'm like, shit, I got a podcast too, and I literally told a story about how I shit my pants one time, uh, very recently, like within the last 2 years. Okay, shit my pants in my car, and I was just like, but like the old version of me would have never told that story ever. It's like, what is that going to say about me? And especially as a fat girl, like I'm a fat girl, I'm not allowed to be gross like that, right? Like, so what is that going to say about me? What is it going to say about fat people in general? What is it going to say about women? Like, if I tell this story about how I shit my pants in my car, like nothing. It means nothing. It means I ate a really weird burger and it fucking did something to my stomach on the way home, like it doesn't mean anything about me. And I think that too is a gift of grief. It's allowing yourself to like no longer feel shame. I have you no shame? No, I don't. I don't have any shame. I feel no shame. I
Life's too short
It's
for
too
us to be
short.
to operate from a lens of shame,
It's
right?
too
Like
short. I will wear the short skirts. I will wear the crop tops. I will shit my pants probably again someday. I will do the things. I will embarrass the shit out of myself if it makes one person feel less alone in this world because I felt so alone. I felt so insanely alone. And that was by design. It was by design, right? Shame is meant to keep us feeling alone and cowering. And that's my entire mission. It's just I'm going to make people feel less alone. And if I need to lay out, my all my dirty laundry, whatever, like I'll do it. I'll do it. It just doesn't matter anymore.
yeah. Yeah, it's like, why sweat the small stuff? It's like, and it's like we started this conversation, and I think when we originally met, like you said, like we just dove head in, like forget the niceties, forget the small talk. Like, I so often I'm like, I don't know, I don't want to know what you do. I want to know who you are. and I think that has too, maybe that's the theme for this episode. It's like the gift of grief of, it's allowed me to really not only be able to open myself up to people, but to be able to receive others in such a rich, pleasurable, joyful way.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you, Allie, so much for joining us today. Any last words?
Have the courage to shit your pants.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love it.
Have the
Have the
courage to shit your
courage
pants
to
and
shit
have
your
the
pants.
courage to be disliked. Have the
Yes,
courage to be disliked as long as you
yes,
like yourself.
absolutely. Awesome. Make sure you follow Allie at Lights Camera Allie, and that's ALLY, on Instagram, and your podcast, the Fab Fatties. Yeah. And we'll put all this in the show notes as well. But thank you again, Allie. Thank you for joining the Morning Call podcast. Our intention is that you found a nugget of hope, inspiration, connection, or all of the above.
If you seek to dive deeper with the Morning Call community, email us, subscribe to our page, leave a review, and fill out our survey.
We want to hear your stories and widen the conversation to support and empower our grief experiences as we collectively become our true selves.
Find us and subscribe on all streaming platforms, YouTube, and at Morning Call Podcast on Instagram. You can also email us at morningcallpodcast@gmail.com.
This podcast was edited by Alexis Carrasquillo from Familia Creative Media.